Book haul, baby. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And as you can see, I picked up some books in the month of July. And now it is August, and I'm getting around finally to showing you what I got. So let me set this stack aside before catastrophe occurs. Carefully. But I usually, when I pick up something really exciting that I think people might care about, I'll usually do a standalone video for it, a book unboxing. As my 12-year-old son told me years ago, a book unboxing is one of the most popular book videos on YouTube. Actually, he said an unboxing video is one of the most popular forms of video on YouTube, and he was probably 9 at the time. So he had to explain it to his old man how this stuff works. But other stuff I get that, I want to talk about some of that stuff too. Maybe it's not all as bright and shining, but to me it's cool stuff that either A, fits in my collection, or B, two, is something that I want to read, or what have you. Maybe it's something I came across a great deal on that somebody recommended. I don't know. Other reasons I might get stuff. And so let's talk about some of the things I picked up in the month of July that I might, or maybe I might not have shown you. And this one I did show you in a book review video. And there's a book, there's a publisher named Suntup Editions who recently published a book or sold for pre-sale a book called Ratman's Notebooks. And I wanted to read it. The book is by Stephen Gilbert, and I wanted to read the book. So I went looking for an economically priced copy. And I found this one called Willard. Weird. Willard. It's a movie tie-in. So there's a novel, and then they made a movie based on the novel. And then to help sell more copies of the book, they put a movie-oriented cover on the book and put it back on the shelf. And in this case, not always the case, but in this case, they changed the name of the book to the name of the movie, Willard. And I read the book, and I loved the book. Very, very good. Glad I did. Glad I read the book. And then I watched the movie, and the movie was not nearly as good. It was good. And it was very familiar to the book. So it wasn't an exact shot for shot, scene for scene for the book, but it was pretty close and good. I really liked it. I didn't love it. It was a good movie. If I would have watched the movie, I don't know if I would have read the book first. If I'd have watched the movie first, I don't know if I'd have read the book. But having read the book and really enjoyed the book, loved the book, go and read the movie, watch the movie. I read movies. I read the movie, and I did realize why they changed some of the things they changed. Some of the aspects. They made the main character, who goes unnamed in the book and who is Willard in the movie, they made him a far more sympathetic character. They tried really hard to make him somebody that we could associate with more and maybe feel more justified in him doing the things that he did, knowing that he was going the way he was going and stuff like that. So the main character is far more sympathetic in the movie than he is in the book. But anyway, that's Willard, that's Ratman's Notebooks, and that's a wrap. It was a good book. Glad I got it. And I'll save that copy. Either I'll get some better versions of the book and that'll go with them, or else I'll just stick it in the movie novelization section, which has a small cutout for movie tie-ins, where they did just that. They take a book, they made a movie about the book, so then they remarket the book towards the movie and you get movie stuff on the front. That's kind of neat too. If the movie was good. If the movie really sucked, sometimes it's a turn off. But anyway, onward. This is a book that I've read and that I have and that I've shown you, and I loved it. From one of my favorite authors, Ian Rogers, on God's Green Earth. It is Sycamore, a Blacklands novel. the first Black Lands novel. And so this character, Felix Wren, in a very tight nutshell, he's a private detective, a more modern private detective in Canada, set in Canada. And there's something afoot going on. There are these portals to another world, these doors. And it's kind of seems like it started with the Bermuda Triangle, the disappearances there. But anybody who goes through either doesn't come back, or when they do, they come back different. And then other stuff comes through from the Black Lands. And it's always bad when that happens. And Felix Wren, a private detective, stumbles into some of the creatures and then also becomes known for dealing with these creatures. And that's where we are with Sycamore. There are some short stories before this that kind of give the step-by-step lead up, and that is collected in a book called Super Noir Tales, which I loved, and Cemetery Dance will be publishing soon. But anyway, I already had a copy of this. It already had a signed book plate of this, but I'm dumb. I was looking at something else from Ian Rogers, and it was a listing on eBay, and it disappeared, gone. Oh, I missed it. What happened? Somebody made a deal. And then boom, this popped back up, and some crossed wires here, said, oh, it's back, I want to buy it. Boom, bought it, and guess what? Then I realized, wait a second, I didn't buy the thing I thought I was buying from Ian Rogers. I bought Sycamore. But, so I have two copies, trade edition softcover from Cemetery Dance. Beautiful artwork on the front by Ben Baldwin, and it comes with a signed book plate. So I have two. Why, I don't know. Sometimes side-by-side books on the shelf are cool. You know, it's a new thing. So I got two. I don't know what to do. But a better book to have two of, I can't think of. What's next? All right, speaking of two, one of my favorite authors on God's Green Earth is a guy by the name of Lawrence Block. And he has a series in which I was introduced to the author called... well, it's called the Burglar series, the Bernie Rodenbar series. It's a burglar. And Bernie Rodenbar is a lovable cat burglar. He's a burglar of all sorts. He steals stuff to kind of make ends meet. But he's a burglar with a good heart. And occasionally, while he's burglaring, bad things happen that aren't his doing. And he gets caught in the middle, whether it be murder or other sort of mystery or mayhem. Sometimes he gets hung up in it, and he has to try to find a way out. So it's a kind of a cool cross between those old whodunits, that Agatha Christie style of whodunit. And in fact, in many of the books in the series, it's the same thing. You get the round table, the old Thin Man, Dashiell Hammett. You get everybody all piled up, and he goes one by one talking about this person. Oh, they did it. Nope. Couldn't have done it because yada, yada, yada. And finally unveils the killer and his friend, Lieutenant Kirchman. I think it's Lieutenant, the cop, NYPD Kirchman, always is conveniently there to cuff them and stuff them, to haul off the bad guys. Usually he's got his hand involved somehow in making the money off of the deal and apprehending the suspect and all that kind of stuff. But I love this series, and I'll show you what I already had. I have what technically would be a signed limited edition, first print copy of Burglars Can't Be Choosers. They put a book plate in years ago. 1,000 copies had this book plate, signed and numbered, and the original price was $6.95. And this one is a first edition, first print, and something weird that old Random House did was they didn't know how to mark first edition, first prints. Anyway, they marked them a little bit differently. You see, this has a number line that goes all the way down to 2. Well, a second print on this one has a number line that goes all the way down to 2, but the second print does not say first edition right there. So the first print say first edition with a number line that goes down to 2, not 1 like usual. The second print has a number line that goes down to 2 like any second print ought to, and it doesn't say first edition. So some weird stuff is afoot back in 1977, but that's one I've had for a long time. That was a must-have in my collection. And this one was more of a thing saying, oh, why don't I? This is a book club edition of the same book, and they're about the same height. The book club edition is a little bit thinner, and you can see some differences on the boards there that indicate it was made in a slightly different way. Instead of quarter cloth, it's just regular old paper cover. But also on the front dust flap, the book club edition says book club edition. Doesn't have the price like the other one did. And what else? Right over here, it just says copyright 1977. It doesn't have number lines or anything like that. So book club edition. Why would I want a book club edition with the same dust jacket and all that kind of stuff? Well, signed is better, and I'll take it. It's a different version of a book that I love, only slightly different, and it's signed, and I got it cheap, and it's nice. It's in good shape. It's very, very old, and I got it, and I dig it, and I like it. So, works for me. Next up is a book, and this one is a cool deal that I passed on, but no more. This is a book by Scott Carson, or Michael Corita, a.k.a. the Scott Carson is a pseudonym for Michael Corita. Michael Corita, I've never read any of his Corita books. They're more like a thriller, detective sort of a thing, I understand. I don't know. I haven't read them. But when he's writing the weird stuff, the scary stuff, the science fiction stuff, the weird, strange stuff, he uses a pseudonym called Scott Carson. And I've read recently a Scott Carson book called Departure 37, which I showed you a review of. I read it on the Kindle from NetGalley and Digital Arc, and I really liked it. So I decided, hey, I ought to look a little bit deeper into Scott Carson. There's a publisher called Lividian Publications, one of my absolute favorites. Brian James Freeman running the show over there, the boss, the owner, the big kahuna, eating his burger, the big kahuna burger. And he publishes great stuff. And he's publishing Scott Carson books. So I found a sweet deal on one that I haven't read called Where They Wait from Lividian Publications, a signed limited edition version. And the price was right. I had the shot and I took it. So let me show you what it looks like. And I wrap these dust jackets all in a broad art. So first of all, let's show you the slipcase that it comes in with a die cut hole, which I showed you a second ago. Nice, thick, hefty, healthy slipcases with title and author and publisher logo on the spine of the slipcase. Very nice stuff. I put a broad art on here so it's all shiny and plasticky as opposed to normal stuff, so the light doesn't show the artwork on it very well. It features, let's show you here, it features artwork by Francois Vaillancourt, one of my absolute favorite illustrators on God's green earth. One of the greats, my favorite, Francois Vaillancourt. Dust jacket artwork, real quick. I'll just kind of show you a little bit about it in case you're not familiar with Lividian Publications. There are boards with the dust jacket off, cloth bound, hot foil stamping on the front cover and the spine. A Smith sewn binding with a built-in ribbon page marker. So they're quality stuff. They're built well. The end papers are dark. This was just tucked in the book so that they know what number it is while they're shipping it. Hang on. So I just tucked it in here and hang on to such things. I don't know why, but I did. And frontispiece, I'll show you a couple of these illustrations. It's an illustrated edition. Francois Vaillancourt has done some great work on their numbered editions. The interior illustrations are typically black and white. You'll see the frontispiece here is in color. The colophon page, the signature page, is in color. It is signed by Scott Carson, Michael Corita, signing it as Scott Carson, Francois Vaillancourt, the illustrator, and limited to 750 copies. Mine is number 680, I guess. What was it? 680. 680, that's good. It's good enough. But I'll just flip through here a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of great illustrations. The lettered editions have colored illustrations inside. The numbered editions have black and white, but lots and lots. And this is a book haul video, so I don't have the time. I guess I could. I got all the time in the world as long as the phone keeps recording. But you might not want to watch it. But you might not want to watch it anyway. Lots and lots of interior illustrations. Just showing you some, and you can see part 2 has that cover work. So there's a lot a lot more than just that, what I've just shown you. And take it from me, Francois is fantastic with his illustrations. And I've only read the Departure 37. It should be out very soon. I'm not sure when it comes out. So that's the only Scott Carson book I've read, but I liked it enough, and I'm a fan enough of Lividian publications, and fan enough of Francois Vaillancourt, and I'm a book collector. I like signed limited edition books. So I went and I bought me this one. And it's here, and it's there, and I'm glad to have it, and I need to do some more Scott Carson reading. And that's one of them that are on the list. Now, I did mention before being a fan of novelizations and collecting movie novelizations and movies that I dig. And there are different levels of dig and different reasons to dig. You dig? And one of them is a movie. Years and years ago, I was on a forum. When you're on the internet and you had forums and Facebook wasn't the big deal thing. Early 2000s, there's an author, there still is an author named F. Paul Wilson. One of my very favorites who ever lived. And on that forum, somebody asked, what movie do you love that you're embarrassed to tell people that you love? You're embarrassed when you tell people that you love this movie because it's bad or it's whatever. It's a movie you're not proud of loving, but you do love. And I had a couple. One was Popeye, starring Robin Williams, and I'm pretty sure almost everybody says that movie sucks, and I love that movie. I loved it when I was a kid, and I'm still an old man, but no more intelligent or no more mentally developed, no more mature than I was back then, and I still love it. Robin Williams as Popeye. The other one that I had mentioned, but is probably one that a lot of folks like, and that's Maximum Overdrive, the Stephen King directed movie starring Emilio Estevez and others. I loved that movie, and it wasn't very good, but a lot of people also loved that movie. Anyway, long story to tell you this. F. Paul Wilson said his guilty pleasure was a movie called Maniac Cop, and it was a movie that I'd kind of heard about. I knew it existed. I didn't know anything about it. And so I went to go watch it. Say, hey, one of my favorite authors digs this movie, and he's almost embarrassed to tell people about it. Maybe I should go watch it. So I went to go find a copy. That was before I could stream everything on the internet. And the only one I could find at the local Borders, look it up, folks, this was early 2000s, was Maniac Cop 3. So I got Maniac Cop 3 and I took it home and watched it, and it was effed. But I liked it. I actually liked it. I thought that was kind of cool. So a little while later, I was able to find Maniac Cop, and I watched it, and I liked it too. I wouldn't say it's a movie that I hold dear and near and love it to death, but it was a good one with some good characters and some good guests and a good killer and such as that. So it's a good movie, one that I watched maybe 3 times since then. 3 times, period, ever, in the last 20 whatever it is, 23 or 24 years since I saw the first time. But I saw the other day, I didn't know, another YouTuber was doing a book review on the novelization of Maniac Cop. Crazy Chainsaw Productions, or Stupid Chainsaw Productions, I think is the guy's name. So I watched his little review, and I thought, man, that might be a book that I ought to watch myself. A book that I watch books and I read movies. A book that I ought to watch myself. And I went on the Amazon and I found the trade softcover version, and I had a chance and I took it to get novelization for Maniac Cop because I collect movie novelizations for movies that I dig. And this one had to be on the list. Now, they also sell Maniac Cop 2 and Maniac Cop 3. I just got the first one. I didn't get the others. And they have a hardcover that has all 3. I think that's the way it works. I think the hardcover has all 3 in it. And I didn't get that one either. I just wanted a copy of the first one. It's good enough for me for now anyway. So there it is. Maniac Cop, the book official novelization by Christian Francis, based on the screenplay by Larry Cohen. Ever hear of it? And on the cover, it's brand new and shiny. It's all creased looking, but that's part of the image. The book is not all creased up and old. Sometimes they just do things like this to make them look old. Now I got 3 more. And this one I warned you about already. I did a book unboxing of a book called Mickey 7 from the Broken Binding. And I told you that I ordered two and they shipped them separately. And I got the one and I unboxed it. And it's right here. Cool cover illustrations. It's signed and numbered. The awesome edge, digital edge design, sprayed edges on top and bottom. It looks really cool. Take off the dust jacket and there's the book boards itself with that foil stamping. Really cool stuff. Relatively affordable. Awesome end paper illustrations. The front and the back are different. Man, it's really cool stuff. Really good stuff. I'm going to show you the back end paper illustration there. Really cool. And did I say cool? I mentioned cool, right? It's also signed and limited, not numbered. It's not a numbered edition. One of a limited edition exclusive hardcover of Mickey 7, signed by the author, Edward Ashton, published by Solaris Books in association with the Broken Binding 2025. So I got that one. That was the first one I showed you already. And I've done a book review on this, and I've shown you other versions of it. But one of the neat things that Broken Binding does is they wrap their things up all cool. Each one's done a little bit differently. I've got the third rule of time travel has a ribbon around it and tied in a bow on the front. Really cool. But here they put the picture of the Mickey 7 sticker on the front there. And it's really neat. So I was glad to get that one. Again, I don't always feel like I have to make sense. And I think that's the only way I cope in life is that everything doesn't have to make sense in my brain because it can't. But I like getting these Broken Binding books all wrapped up nice and neat. And a couple times now I've said, I hate to open it. I don't want to open it. I feel like I'm destroying something cool. And with the third rule of time travel, I decided to implement a deal where I got two copies and I kept one all wrapped up with the bow and all that stuff. And then one I opened up and like all the rest of my books. I don't know why. It wasn't hurting anything to have it. And I did the same thing with Mickey 7, a book that I really dig, really enjoyed. I love this book. And I figured, hey, I'll give it a shot. Now, the wrapping for Mickey 7 isn't quite as fancy as the wrapping for the third rule of time travel was. But it's got the Broken Binding stuff on it, the Mickey 7 sticker. So it's neat. And it sits on my shelf just like this, unless I change my mind and decide to move it. If this book starts selling for $400, you can guarantee that I will be selling this book. But if the value remains right around what I paid for it, then I probably will just leave it. Leave it sitting until either A, I need money, A, or B, I need space, or C, I figure, why do I have a piece of brown paper sitting on my shelf? But as of right now, it stays. It stays. All right, two more, like I said. And this one, I talked about an author named Ian Rogers, one of my favorite authors on God's Green Earth. He recommended an author, maybe you've heard of him, called Elmore Leonard. And so I picked up a few Elmore Leonard books. But in the process, I noticed that Elmore Leonard wrote a book called Pronto. And Pronto is the first book in a series of books about a U.S. Marshal named Raylan Givens. If that name doesn't ring a bell, there's a TV show that's now done, but it was a good one, called Justified. And I loved that show. I was really into it, really glad that such a thing existed. And now I'm glad to find out it's based on a series of books written by Elmore Leonard, and Ian Rogers vouches for Elmore Leonard. So while I was looking around on eBay, I found this ARC advanced review copy, and it's not a perfect ARC. It's been read, it's been loved, it's been in collection or collections over time. And advanced review copies are books that are published before a book gets officially published. They're sent out to people to review, for people involved in the project perhaps. A variety of reasons they send them out. And some folks collect them because they actually came before the first edition. So this ARC from Delacorte Press was signed by Elmore Leonard. And it's not perfect. The book isn't perfect. But it's a signed ARC of the first book in the Raylan Givens series, which the TV series that I love is based on. Reason enough for me to get it, and it's signed, and the price was right. baby, great price. And I got it. And since it's been read, I might as well read it myself. Smells good. I don't know, sweet. Like it. Might as well read it myself. And I got a good copy to read and then to save because it's a signed art. And I dig it, man. I dig it the most. One more. And this one was something where I got beat. I got beaten. I was beaten, defeated, vanquished. I was the beast, I guess. Or I was the hero who lost. Or I was just some guy who bought something on eBay and got. But there's a movie called Clue. And I collect movie novelizations for movies that I dig. And Clue is one of those novelizations that is the hardest to get. They sell very high. 300 or more they go for a lot of times for this regular old mass market paperback book. And so I would never ever have owned one. But a seller on eBay with zero feedback, and I know. I figured, hey, I buy something from them. If I don't get the book, I file a little claim. eBay refunds me my money, no big deal. I didn't pay $300 for it. I paid much, much less. Ching. Light bulb. Anyway, I paid much, much less for the book. Less than $100. It was cheap. It was a cheap book. I got it. And lo and behold, I got an email saying the book was shipped, tracking and all. The book arrived. I got an email from FedEx saying the book arrived. It arriven. And when I open it up, I get this glossy, brand new. I mean, literally, the listing said it was new. And when I list something as new, that means the condition is new. It doesn't literally mean that this book published in 1986 is new as in just printed today. But you can see, very glossy cover. The original cover was paper. It wasn't really glossy like that. The image on the front is it's a copy of a copy or a copy of a book in a poor reproduction. You can see how blurry it is. Very shiny but blurry and all this kind of stuff. And so I got it in the mail, and heck, it even says it's a first edition, first print copy from 1986 with a number line that goes all the way down to 1 and all that kind of stuff. Unauthorized, bootleg, reproduction, a fake, a phony, a forgery. And I got it. I own one now. I didn't intend to own one, but now I do. But I took a chance, a cheap way to get an expensive book on the cheap. Every now and then you stumble into those. And I didn't. I stumbled into a fake, a phony, a forgery, a copycat, unauthorized reproduction. And I talked to the seller, and they said, whatever, no dice. A canned, pre-typed response saying, send me some pictures of the book so we can see if it doesn't match our listing. And we'll help you out if it does not match our listing. The listing didn't say it was a fake, phony, forgery, copycat, or anything like that. Anyway, so I took some pictures of the book up here, right over here by these books over here. Sent it to them and said, hey, please refund me and I'll send you the book back. It's a fake, a phony, a forgery, a copy. And I also sent eBay a message with the same picture saying it's a fake, a forgery, unauthorized reproduction. It's not the 1986 first edition, first print that the book says it is. It's a brand new, newly printed fake, and eBay said, well, we investigated it and there's nothing wrong here. They're not interested in this particular situation like that anyway. So I got this book, and I paid more than this book is worth, but whatever. I took a chance. Every time and then you take a chance, you take a gamble, and it's called a gamble because it might pay off or it might not. And it didn't. So now I've got a copy of Clue, at least, because I'll never pay $300 for a real one. At the end of the day, in 100 years, who's going to care anyway, right? And that is the grand fizzle finale, dud finale of this July book haul video. So thanks for hanging out with me, checking out. Thanks for all of your input. I appreciate it. I couldn't have done this without you. But thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. And with that being said, I can think of no more lies to tell. So say la vie, baby.
Oh, that's real good.